Hello and welcome to Bags of Action. This is a 5-minute review of Shaft from 2019, starring Samuel L. Jackson, Richard Roundtree, Jessie T. Usher, and Regina Hall. In some ways it's difficult to believe that the first Shaft film starring Samuel L. Jackson was now 19 years ago in the year 2000. To me it only feels like it was 3 or 4 years ago. Of course, the Shaft films itself are both remakes from the original from 1971 that also starred Richard Roundtree in the title role as John Shaft. The era when the film first came out, it was very much marketed as a blaxploitation action film, but the modern versions have been more comedic in tone, and yet they still hold true to some of the basic tenets of the Shaft franchise. This new version wastes no time in setting up the tone of what is to come. There's extreme action, extreme language, and it is a very non-politically correct film from the very beginning. It makes fun of metrosexuals, millennials, modern-day men, and it harkens back to an era where men took charge and didn't really think about anybody else, or talk about their feelings and that sort of thing. As well as poking fun at itself, the film also makes fun of current things in the zeitgeist. There's this running joke where people are mistaking Samuel L. Jackson for Lawrence Fishburne, which is a mix-up from something in real life. That's brought into the film. There's pokes at the current president, although he isn't specifically named as such, but you know who they're talking about. So they make fun of everybody, and nobody is immune to a joke. As a result of all of that, I absolutely loved this film. It was brilliant. It was funny. It was full of action, the dialogue was crisp, there was a lot of swearing to be fair, but given that it's Samuel L. Jackson and the Shaft franchise, it's kind of what I was expecting, so I wasn't really shocked by any of that. Even though it's been a long time since Samuel L. Jackson was in the role as Shaft, he works really well with this version. He's a much older man in real life and also in the film because he now has a grown-up son and he's having to learn to adapt to modern society. Even though he makes fun of his son for the way he dresses and his love of technology instead of relying on good old-fashioned investigation techniques, he's also willing to embrace them when he sees that they can help him with the case that they're both working on together. It's only a middle minor spoiler to say that Richard Roundtree is in the film playing John Shaft Sr., and there's a great moment where you have all three characters together. The irony being, of course, that Richard Roundtree is only 6 years older than Samuel L. Jackson in real life, and yet he's playing the grandfather. But we can let that go, and it was nice to have him in as a nod to the original film. For all of its jokes, there are definitely some serious moments in the film, and the media gets a roasting in this film as well for the way they portray communities and also the FBI. Religion is another topic that's touched on because several of the characters are from the Middle East and some of the characters are former vets dealing with post-traumatic stress and other problems after returning home from war. So on the surface, the film is a great action thriller. Lots of explosions, lots of jokes at the expense of the characters, but also some of the actors playing them. There's jokes at modern society and the way it compares to the original Shaft and all the problems that come with two people from different generations working together. So there's sort of this buddy cop thing between Shaft and his son. And yet they begin to find middle ground as the film goes on, but not in the way that you would naturally think. For me, the film is quite a breath of fresh air. I could just watch the film and laugh at all of it without having to worry about offending anybody or being upset by something, because it didn't take itself too seriously, and that was kind of the point. And yes, under the surface it was touching a lot of very serious issues, but it didn't stress them too much and make it a political statement. It was just part of the framework of the story. Overall, the film is quite slick, it's exciting, and the action is really tense. Some of the plot twists you can probably see coming, but that's not really what the film is about. It's all about the experience of soaking up a man out of time in modern day, trying to come to terms with his job, his family, and also reconnect with his son whilst laying his past to rest, because there's something in Shaft's history that is still haunting him, which has caused many of the problems that ripple through to the present. This is one of the films where once again the critics have not liked it at all, but a lot of fans have come out and said that they really enjoyed it. So once again, I'm going to fall into the latter category as a fan and say, this was a good film, it's exciting, it's definitely worth seeing. It's just dropped on Netflix after a brief run at the cinema, so if you can, go and check it out. I'm going to give it a score of 4 out of 5. And if you've seen it, then let us know. Get in touch with us on Twitter, Facebook, leave a comment below, and of course don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.